Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen's New Year Speech 2015. Agnieszka Justycja-Rojek, the Queen. We are most happy to greet you in the new year and hurry to deliver our New Year's speech. We welcome the new year from behind the memory of our childhood. We moved to our childhood home, left the TV and radio turned off, went to the nearby cemetery to walk in peace as we used to, when our mom would take us for the walk among the graves in our early childhood days, carefree in our restful sleep. We have greeted the new year in the hope that we found in the creation of Agnipolis. It's developing into our beloved Queendom of Agnipolitania and its acquisition of the greatest gift we have, our Agnipolitanian Academy with its first faculty, the Faculty of Fine Literature and Arts. The inspiration did not leave us last year at this point. We entered the new time carriage, equipped with novel, powerful ideas for the creation of the second faculty, the Faculty of Supreme Education. Needless to say, we are most grateful. What it practically means is our commitment to writing a book. It is our first book, and we have decided to publish it through Facebook for free as a launch of our new faculty. We believe the book, imperfect as it might be due to one person doing all the work on it, even if supported by friendly spirits drawing attention to this or that spelling mistake, vagueness, or stylistic awkwardness, and opening new vistas to kingdoms and queendoms we have not become aware of in our own process of education, understood as a process of acquiring knowledge. All the same, imperfect, due to one person doing all the work directly, the book shall constitute a cognitive framework for our new faculty, presenting our ideas of what supreme education is. The bottom line is a departure from indoctrination to arrive at proper study of life, including the selected aspect of life delivered through other people's books, artistic creations, or other pieces of personal genius. It ought to be conceived as a quest for the truth, and indeed falls into a long-standing tradition of ancient roots, where great minds have been used by great people in their daily application to the holy obligation. We sense some anxiety that our announcement of the project has provoked. It was not our intention, and the book is not designed to promote any existing world order or subvert one. It is purely Agnipolitanian. Certainly, it will pinpoint the aspect of thought that has gone wrong in the sacred human pursuit, the pursuit of knowledge. However, no hostility is meant. A friendly spirit, as I was writing this speech, was suggesting at this point that we were being vague. So let us share a few of our ideas from the stage at which we are now, in the hope that we might bring some come. Mind you, we are at the very first stage of our journey and do not know where we shall arrive. This is a proper scientific attitude. The title of the book is As IS Arrives, Islamic State, on education at the time of indoctrination among Assange's NSA, former KGB, Three Tomies, and the Polish Romanticism, or the Elizabethan England. Post-traumatic reflections, offline, the patchwork. It is to position the process of discovery in the context of an individual life, which, in the medieval fashion, could be a life of anyone of the kind, by naming specific cognitive anchors of the reality the individual has been living in. Assange's NSA, former KGB, the Three Tomies on the one hand, and the idiosyncratic choices, though rooted in the individual's life, objective history, and its intellectual, emotional, and spiritual heritage, the individual carries. That is the Polish Romanticism and the Elizabethan England on the other. The Three Tomies are Tom Cruise, our Polish Tommy Cruise, a journalist of top renown in Poland and a young global leader, the Young Global Leaders being an elite association of thinkers and activists of stellar achievement devoted to creating a better world, and our private, personal Tomek Pawlak, who has become part of the journalistic community with his membership in the Polish TVN Society. A long time ago, we used to think Tom Cruise could become our sponsor should we choose to launch a scholastic school in Poland. That is a school that follows Scientology rules. However, we gave the idea up a long time ago due to our personal reservations concerning direct hierarchical cooperation with the Church. Tom Cruise remained our inspiration thanks to his movies, and that is the aspect of Tom Cruise reality that we are interested in while writing the book. We have been more capable in our confrontation with the hostile forces waging lethal wars against us, thanks to having watched them. As for the Scientology aspect of Tom Cruise, we prefer to deal with the Church as we, Her Majesty Agnieszka Justitia I of Agnipolitania, and we shall, in the patches devoted to the great anti-Scientology line, new fascism, indoctrination, discrimination, human rights, and professional journalism. We are interested in issues, proper education, real value, clarity of concepts, and justice, not in exposing, belittling, or ridiculing anyone. Tomek Lis used to be our journalism guru, and we believed we could work with him one day. We have been corrected. All the same, we remain grateful for the skills acquired, the improvement in our command of our mother tongue, and the many aspects of the Polish reality our attention has been drawn to make us strive towards competence when approaching the problem, capital P. It needs to be emphasized that our first post on his side back in 2007, I guess, was a real breakthrough in personal courage terms and can only be compared to our deciding to write our MA thesis on Shakespeare under Professor Marta Gidinska's supervision and entering her room to ask if she would be kind enough to teach and guide us in that brave intellectual enterprise. We did not ask Mr. Lees for such guidance. We wrote a post on his site. We need to accent it, for we believe there is still a potent misunderstanding looming over us all the people involved in the development of the Queen's life in the years that have passed since. We were certain we remained anonymous. The unwritten contract was violated at the point when someone checked the real-life photoshop behind the two personas, Dolphinus and Mango. Secondly, we believed we were anonymous. However, the act of publishing our thoughts on that particular site, of reaching the guru, was a jump with all the mental and emotional content triggered. We are shy. Each breakthrough is hard spiritual work and huge effort for us. Of course, by now we have become socially agile. On the positive note, we must say we were very happy to find some of our thoughts expressed in our post in the book My Narod, We, the People, published in 2008. We do remember we wrote, we did not care who would say it, as long as the ideas would get across. And we felt we had achieved our purpose. Now authorship has become all important for us, as we are creating our Aquitanian brand. We shall go into dialogue in our patchwork. Tomek Pawlak is a private love story raped into a public existence, where it has acquired a life of its own. We are not certain how our Sagittarius will function in the book and our future life at the stage where we are now. Due to the trauma related to the person, our current standing on the Tommy is watch Elizabeth, the 1998 movie, and think of Mr. Darling. Otherwise, it's sfumato. We believe the arrival of IS, the Islamic State, is a wake-up call. We are not quite certain how we became involved in the question of terrorism in the first place, but it appears to be our life mission, whether we like it or not. We have made many attempts to leave the track, to no avail. We did not start with the Islamists. We started at the Jagiellonian University as the first-year student back in 1994 when we attended Mr. Peter Wiese's lectures on the contemporary history of Britain. To be precise, we were given the problem of the conflict in the Northern Ireland as a subject to research and analyze in our argumentative paper to get the pass. Ironically enough, we seemed to be the last person to handle it due to our total deficiency in knowledge and skill as far as history, in general and in particular, goes, and came off best in the class. There might be a lesson to learn there as well. In 2009, our life changed into hell. This has been the first year since that we feel we might be getting out of the hell. However, we tread very cautiously. In other words, since 2009, we have been living a daily trauma, probably misjudged due to our vibrant activity on Facebook. What can we say? The people evaluating our assets and liabilities have proved atrociously deficient in knowledge and skill as far as life, in general and in particular, goes, and failed in their diagnosis completely, bringing about far more harm than the devastation of our individual life. To be precise, once again, since March 2009, we have been a victim of regular, systematic torture, which is a precise legal term. The torture that has been illegitimate, if one can ever speak of legitimate torture, which we are going to cover in our book too, bearing in mind that the dangerous one some advocates of torture mention in their defense is by no means a psychiatric disorder of common paranoia, but a sane assessment of the world we all are living in. The point of departure is the answers to the dangers that really exist. While preparing for writing our book, especially the part on which we have been working at the turn of the year, that is our subjective calendar, we do use the internet to establish the sequence of events and some names sometimes, or check the spelling. However, on the whole, we are going to create a framework offline. We want to avoid mind hacking, excessive distraction, and departures from our traditional mindset for our study. That is the student, books, and a sheet of paper, plus other writing and study aids. We might compromise and use our computer as a timing machine. However, the idea behind is to keep it least digital. There is a rationale behind it, which we hope to discuss in one of our academy debates one day. We might not get competent enough to cover it properly in the book we are writing now. The subjective calendar presents the events that have made our history. For obvious reasons, we do not want to publish all, since still we need to make facts known factually. Quite a chunk of our life in the recent years has been rooted into absurd readings, by ill-intentioned abusers. We must arrive at the truth behind. There is more to an event than a recording device makes. Not to mention that a slight change in the position of the recording device does affect the recording it takes. All said and done, our life has been abandoned in the events that quoted on their own could be viewed as a miniature analysis of problems at hand. For instance, our school experience is a perfect introduction into competent approach to education at standard Polish schools nowadays. By the way, we shall be working towards designing a form for legal auditing of schools. Like we have financial auditing, social auditing, there should be legal auditing of schools. And include it in the book or use it to launch a faculty devoted to law. We signal it to safeguard the authorship. The calendar itself can be viewed as a patchwork, a whole created out of the patches that can have a meaningful existence on their own, but put together create a meaningful whole. We have been inspired by the movie where friends the bride meet to create a bed cover by sewing together their pieces, scraps of material into which they sew their memories of love. Sadly, my life in the European Union, the decade in the European Union, has been impaired and polluted by the incoming emotions of far less precious quality. Originally, when we arrived at the idea of writing the book on indoctrination, it was to be a composition of thought content we had acquired and structured by the time. We were to move out of our flat, which had become a scene of crime due to the rapes suffered and thus narrating in itself because of the traumatic association, and devote the whole December to typing the content into our computer and publishing it by the end of 2014. We are glad we did not, as the process of creation has led us into areas we find utterly fascinating. And now we are working on something much bigger, with new resources at hand. All the same, we have decided to remain faithful to the patchwork form of creation which translates into our readers, getting the content in the form of text attached to pictures. We have not made a grand opening of our Faculty of Supreme Education yet. We are working towards it, publishing our work on the subjective calendar in Statum Assembly, to help the state officers, should they choose to get ethical, honest, and straight about the unthinkable abuse we have been a victim of. Having discussed the implications of the title in detail, let us give you some idea of the content. As we said, originally the book was to be a collection of independent patches, pieces devoted to particular subjects that can be selected for reading at random. We made the list of subjects in the brainstorming fashion on the 14th of November 2014. We have traveled through our reading into new areas by now. Still, before we share some of our riper ideas, let us deliver the list to you, so that you would be able to get a better concept of the overall design, randomly, not sequentially. But what is Bhutan, fairy tales, the Holy Bible, Tibetan Buddhism, quotes, professional journalism, English tenses, interesting ideas, the Holy Quran, Cult trauma and other witnesses of history, mystics and prophecies. We, the people, new fascism, on unmasking, on virgins, on idols, on the left wing, on glasses, on pentagram, on humility, on forgiveness, on employees' criminality, on horsery, on symbols, the cat, the snake, etc., on sanctities, on translation, on tolerance, on the three lawfully established inviolabilities, the inviolability of correspondence, the inviolability of home, the inviolability of the body, on copyrights and authorship, criminal law, revolutions, the art of war, pupils, safe fantasy, poems, more than ecosystem, war of the world. Now, let us take a closer look at the subjects that have taken more shape in our mind since. The quest. We are going to travel through Michael Ende's never-ending story, The Knights of the Round Table, the Book of 1001 Nights, The Alchemist, Searching for the Philosopher's Stone, the stories of the Holy Jesus, the Holy Buddha, and the Holy Muhammad, the Tao of Tai Chi Chuan, Way to Rejuvenation by Yao Tsung Hua. I'm not quite sure how one should pronounce it. I have forgotten to check it, which is a bit of mistake on my part. Excuse that. And Voyage to the Great Attractor, Exploring Intergalactic Space by Alan Dressler. We are not certain about the Holy Muhammad, as we are aware we are being watched by extreme advocates of extreme beliefs, like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. And we are afraid we might not be able to cover the subject without unintentional insults that we might not be aware of. To give you an example, some time ago, at the time when politicians were considering military interventions in Syria, we made two recordings. One of them was on Syria and the ideas that developed into the spontaneous fashion of our communication. The other was our reading aloud the last sermon. We took a bath. To be clear, we put no makeup on. We lit the candle and took a textbook to read the sermon in Polish. A few weeks passed before we realized we had been holding the book in the hand, which is considered dirty masculine. And so our reading could be considered an intended offense. Obviously, that was not the case. Revolutions. At the time of protests in Taksim Square, we joined in from our universe in our own way. Incidentally, this is where the image of us wearing the elegant indigo blouse, navy blue eyeshadows, and the icon of the lilac heart on the forehead, signifying a third eye look into the real nature of the person on the spiritual level, date back to. The image that has become a symbol of our moral revolution. They were reading books in silence, and from what we got, those were modern books, Latin. We reached for our Percy Bushi Shelley and read out the preface to the Revolt of Islam. In a way, it has become a manifesto, and its translation will probably be an independent page in the book, too. Among the revolutions we have listed by now, there is obviously the Polish Revolution of 1989, the ideas of the Round Table talks and solidarity. Our launching platform our launching platform here is the conversation between Professor Geremek and Jacek Żakowski, a left-wing journalist. But we are going to study the idea of solidarity covered in other sources too. Otherwise, we shall cover the Cultural Revolution in China, the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and the Bolshevik Revolution. We shall deal with other revolutions as well, like industrial or digital revolutions. Furthermore, we shall look into the question of paradigm change, Nicholas Copernicus, and our own Agnipolitanian world. A long time ago, long in the empirical times, somewhere around 2011, we mentioned our revolution that we phrased as the revolution of Miss Isa's red panties. The name was inspired by a picture of our former pupil, though not ours truly, spotted on her profile where she is sitting in a position exposing her red panties, pointing her finger towards her vagina. Our first creation, excuse me, but that picture is very impressive and it makes me quite, even now you can see that, makes me quite ashamed. A different type of a person, I guess. Anyway, let's come back to our speech. Where she's sitting in a position exposing her red panties, pointing her finger towards her vagina. Our first reaction was an alarm. We could hardly resist a compulsion of having to write an immediate message to her. We decided to let it be and thought she was making a statement. Miss Isa had not been our fan, but we owed her some rehabilitation. She's an alpha, and we did not quite get it when we were her teacher. Now we know. Within reasonable limits. Last but not least, we might have a look at the matrix revolutions. Witnessing history. At the time of our intense socializing, that is our university years, we met a writer from Germany. We dropped into the cafe we visited regularly. The barman told he dropped me. Excuse me, once again perhaps. At the time of our intense socializing, that is our university years, we met a writer from Germany. He dropped into the cafe we visited regularly. The barman told him we were intelligent and he could have a proper conversation with us. Sadly, we were not mature enough and unprepared, so the depth of experience passed by. Luckily, the man gave us his book, and we are returning to it now to get an insight into the German mind through his monologue Eines Deutschen. His name is called Draw. Years ago, we got a happy message from our best friend Paulina, who thought we had won a prize for our review of Roman Gotska's Dziewczynka w czerwonym płaszczyku, The Girl in the Red Coat, which is our translation unauthorized. Unfortunately, we could not bask in the warmth of the praise, for it was a different English title. Fortunately, the mistake brought our attention to the book itself. Roma Ligowska is our history, capital H, witness, capital W. We shall take the journey again, by which we mean reading the book, of course, not the history repeating. Our faithful followers know there was a breakthrough in our relations with the world of cinematic art and politics over the issue of Roman Polanski. A few weeks ago, we watched an interview, and we are not saying we understand the overall situation, but we do understand not being oneself, which is why we have departed from our original resolution never to watch any movie by Polanski. Our conviction is that the victim might have been ingenious as well, and decided to include the pianist in our book as well. Personally, we believe someone must have hated the Jew more than they had hated the Pole, and this is why the rape happened. Language. We shall analyze English tenses in the mode of thinking of a new language as a new set of vistas into perception of life. Deal with some aspects of translation, Paulsonry being a gatecrasher here, and speech acts, to follow them with a closer look at some historic speeches, great essays in science and the importance of terminology, law and the sense of order, Newspeak and 1984 to start with theatre, and passion. We might have to leave passion out and cover it elsewhere from a different perspective. We included it under the heavy intention, being fully aware that we would not be able to handle the idea today the way we mean. We mean to understand the texture and other things that we have no language of and try to find. We don't know quite what yet, but we sense there's something to find there. By the time we are there, we can. We hope so. Poland. We are trying to be finishing, so we shall get less thorough in our coverage of the rest of the ideas we have developed or inherited by now. Trying to sum it up somehow without elaborations. Two obvious domains that stand out under the heading of Poland are Polish Romanticism and Polish patriotism, or visions of Poland. As for the Polish Romanticism, we shall look for the ideas we do not learn at school, apart from those that we learn at school and like. Our Polish Romanticism starts with Cyprian Kamil Norwid, Juliusz Słowacki, and Adam Mickiewicz, and mysticism is a paramount feature of it. As for the patriotism and visions of Poland so far, our reading list includes Tomasz Lys's My Naród, We the People, Donald Tusk's Solidarność i Duma, Solidarity and Pride, Jacek Kuroń's Rzeczpospolita dla moich wnuków, The Republic for my grandchildren, Jerzy Giedroyć's Autobiografia na cztery ręce, Autobiography for four hands. Full stop. For now, of course, we will be searching for further sources, of course, all the time until we, and even after we complete the book, we will be still working further, hopefully. We translate the titles to convey the meaning, not their poetic or other values. We would like you to bear it in mind. For the purpose of quick information in this particular speech, and they are unauthorized translations. Professional journalism. Right now we are in the position of books dealing with the law, ethics and the market, and the book by Marek Ostrowski entitled Co nas obchodzi świat? Ściągawka na czas chaosu. Why should we care about the world? A creep for the time of chaos. We shall respond to the great anti-Scientology lie spread by influential journalists by presenting the real values of Scientology truthfully. The problem is that people are being told Scientology has certain values, which is a lie. Perhaps these are the things that some of the outstanding Scientologists pursue in their own lives. However, these are not Scientology values as defined in the book, and many of the real Scientology values that correspond perfectly to the values aspired to in other religions are actually Scientology values. Our intention is not to recruit, it is to put the issue in the correct perspective, on the higher plane, so that people could benefit from Scientology if they choose to, however, with legal irregularities and crimes handled locally, as they ought to be dealt with in any other church or religious body. Ethically, it would be very questionable and unprofessional to suggest that the characteristic of Catholics is pedophilia. The left wing and virgins. A significant change has taken place in our life this lifetime. We have left the left wing, and conscientious discussions of the problem at hand shall be the material for a few patches. Yes. Of course, we shall be acknowledging some left-wing people and their works. In the way of counteracting virginiophobia, we are devoted to presentation of powerful virgins, starting with Queen Elizabeth I, giving proper credit to Joan of Arc. We have not decided whether we shall discuss Virgin Mary as well. We do not know yet. However, we believe we shall. Ecology. Ecology. Last but not least, this is by all means the greatest challenge we face. Needless to say, what we have to do to leave the area of indoctrination by both the left and the right wing is full understanding of the processes involved, and that takes doing proper work in our chemistry and physics. Biology will come in handy as well. Let us be more precise. We must be more knowledgeable than the scientific authorities that sanction current environment protection policies. Sounds like a mission impossible, but is worth the effort. Does the nuclear explosion in Switzerland affect the birth of tsunami as well? Where does the theory of particle entanglement take us, in fact? We are aware the vested interests must be made up for somehow, apart from the pure rightness of the argument. So this is a business issue as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ugly Polytania. Thank you. Friends, have a most delightful year. Ugly Polis. The speech was originally written on the 6th of January 2015. Delivered on the, another thing I haven't checked, the 13th or the 14th? Anyway, thank you for your attention once again. Have a wonderful year.